الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على دربه واقتفى أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters. So we have been talking and telling the history of the Jewish people in Palestine. And we were actually going very, very fast because I just wanted to stick to that route or the track of the existence of the Jewish people in Palestine or in Palestine. But based on some questions that was raised for the last session or the last 2 weeks, I want to answer this question today. When we were talking about Christianity and Judaism, and we were talking about the Romans or the Roman Empire, some of our brothers have noticed that they have a question. They found out that the Romans were tolerant with the Jewish people, and they were very harsh on the Christians, especially when we said the crime of being a Christian or practicing Christianity was to what? To be executed, if you remember that. And I want to actually answer this and make it very, very clear tonight. First of all, we want to differentiate between the Pagan Roman Empire, which almost, if you remember from our series, it's before the year 312 CE. So if we are talking about the Roman Empire in that line of history, we want to differentiate between the Pagan Roman Empire, which was before the 312 CE. And then the Roman Empire is going to be the Christian Roman Empire almost after that, especially on or in the year 380 CE. So first of all, do you think that Romans were really tolerant with the Jewish people and were very harsh with Christianity? In the beginning, of course, yes. But we want to clarify something here. From my analysis and from my point of view, there was a main reason for that. What was the reason? Why did we notice that the Romans allowed the Jews to practice, you remember, their rituals? But when it came to Christianity, it was execution immediately. So I want to say one thing from my point of view. Number one, or the most important reason here is that Christianity started to be a kind of missionary religion, which was not the case with the Jews. So, and by the way, we have to understand that that point was not a kind of agreement between the disciples or the apostles of Jesus alayhi salam. We have to know that James actually said, no, we cannot take Christianity to other than the Jewish people. And if you open the Bible right now, I don't remember the verse exactly, but the verse is still saying that Jesus, peace be upon him, was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. Isa ursila likhirafati bani Israel ad-dalla. So this is in the Bible, you can read it today. That Jesus, peace be upon him, Isa alayhi salam, was sent to the sheep or the lost sheep of Israel. So James said we cannot preach Christianity for anyone other than the Jews or the kuffar or the disbeliever or what they call the Gentiles. And Paul actually, if you remember one of the sessions, we said that Christianity that we see nowadays is actually the version of St. Paul. St. Paul was the first one to take Christianity and make it a kind of missionary religion. And this is why it spread among the Roman Empire population. So from that point, Judaism to the Roman Empire or the Pagan Roman Empire was not a threat. Even they could sometimes impose some of the idols and some of the aliha of the Romans on some of the Jews. And we have explained that one day. So they could do that. But the main conflict between the Romans and the Jews were almost 90% political. And if you remember, we have talked about a kind or a number of revolts against the Roman Empire and the Roman rulers. From this, if you remember, the last one resulted in that the Romans razed the entire city of Jerusalem to the ground in the year 70 CE with Titus and his army. And we moved in the history. I want to just stop here at the last revolt that the Jewish people had against the Romans. It was in the year 132 CE. And between 132 and 135 CE, that was what they call in history the Great Jewish Revolt. That happened at that time, and it's very famous by the name of Bar Kokhba or Bar Kokhba. So that Bar Kokhba led that revolt, and it ended up with a great massacres again. So the Romans faced this revolt with great fears and devastating the entire population of the Jewish people. If you remember, we had said before that the Jewish people by the year 300 CE were almost in Galilee and in some other territories. Some of the Roman historians who witnessed that time, he said between the year 132 and 135 CE, the Romans killed more than 580,000 of the Jewish population in Galilee and in the territories around Jerusalem. But anyway, this is number one, or the main reason from my analysis is the pagan Roman Empire didn't find any threat from the Jewish people because they were just practicing their religion to them. And I think you know now, you cannot be a Jew, a real Jew, if your mom is not a Jew. So if you want to convert, or your dad is a Jew, your mom is not a Jew, or even you are not a real Jew to them. But anyway, but for the Christianity, when Paul came, they were afraid that Christianity is going to spread in the Roman territories or among the Roman Empire population. So this is one of the main reasons I could relate to you today. But the course of history has completely changed after the year 300 CE, when, if you remember, it was the time of the Emperor Theodosius, who made Christianity the official religion of what? Of the Roman Empire. So what was the result? We have to understand two main results. And now it's a turning point in the history of oppression and the persecution against the Jew, not the Christians. We said in the year 312, when Constantine accepted Christianity, and he actually signed something called the Edict of Milan, where tolerance to Christianity has appeared, has been common in the Roman Empire. But the year 380 was a very, very turning point because it was the official religion of the Roman Empire. By that time, the execution of the Jews is going to happen. Why? Because they considered and wrote in the Bible, and this what happened was not changed until the year 1965 by the Pope. What was happening in this? They accused the Jewish people of killing the God. They said that the Jews are accused of that kind of killing the Son of God, of Jesus. So Jesus, peace be upon him, now instead of being a person who was raised up as a Jew and was seen or viewed as a revolutionary character, became what? The Son of God, became the God. So based on that, everyone who tried to crucify, or according to their belief, crucified the Son of God, has to be what? Killed for him. So that was the turning point. Now we are not talking about the pagan Roman Empire. We are talking about the Christian Roman Empire, which most likely after the year 312, specifically after the year 380. So the turning point came that time, and persecution became to be very harsh against what? The Jews, because the Roman rulers are now all Christians, okay? And we don't wanna forget to say, after that revolution, after the year 135 CE, actually, the Romans could force the Jew not to practice their rituals. Circumcision, for example, was forbidden. No one Jew in the Galilee or in the upper territory of Palestine right now could even go to do this kind of religious circumcision to the babies. It was forbidden. This, just I say it to affirm, by the way, also after the year 135, the Romans forbidden the Jews to teach the Torah. If you teach the Torah at that time, you are going to be what? Executed. Capital punishment. So this is how we can understand that part of history, because it's very critical. Some of us understood, why the Romans were tolerant with the Jews and why we're not the same with the Christians in the beginning. I just wanted to make sure that we understand these two eras of the Romans Empire in its history, and how the change came, and how the religious part here is going to take place. And the second reason, not just because of the Jews killed the Son of God, there is another reason, which is our topic of every khatira, is about what? Now Jerusalem is a very religious city to Christianity too. So Jerusalem became as important to the Christians as it was to the Jews. The Jews are talking about the Temple of Solomon, and they will lose every kind of power since they lost that temple. And now Jerusalem is becoming what? The home of Jesus, peace be upon him. Some people are talking about Bethlehem, Beit Lahm, where Jesus or where their God was born, and some are talking about also the Church of Resurrection. So this is just, I wanted to clarify this tonight. I wish I answered some of the questions for our brothers, but I'm sorry, the history is really, there are a lot to say, but I just want to try to keep myself confined to the track of the existence of the Jewish people in Jerusalem, and we will reach the point soon, inshallah, about Al-Fath al-Islami, and we will see that how the Jews have never practiced their religion freely in Palestine under any kind of ruling or governance other than the Islamic ruling or Islam or Muslim governance to that time, except the time of Solomon and Dawood عليهما السلام. اللهم يا رب العالمين يا رب العالمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين، نسألك لإخواننا في فلسطين فتحا قريبا مبينا، اللهم افتح لهم فتحا قريبا مبينا، اللهم افتح لهم وافتح عليهم يا رب العالمين فتحا قريبا مبينا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يا ربنا العالمين يا رب العالمين انصرهم ولا تنصر عليهم، اللهم انصرهم ولا تنصر عليهم، اللهم اخذل من خذلهم، اللهم ضيق على من ضيق عليهم، اللهم ضيق على من ضيق عليهم، واخذل من خذلهم. اللهم يا رب العالمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين، إن نصرك نراه قريبا ويرونه بعيدا، فاجعله قريبا كما نأمل فيك، فإن نحسن الظن بك يا رب العالمين وأنت أرحم الراحمين. أكرم الأكرمين، وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلاة وسلاما على المرسلين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.